This week, we are going to start talking about finding and summarizing secondary data. Most of your professional life, you will use secondary data. This is data that somebody else has collected and somebody else has documented. For instance, census data is secondary data. American Community Survey data is secondary data. Program administrative data is secondary data. It's everything that you don't collect yourself. Some definitions add on that the data is collected for a purpose other than what you're going to use it for. Makes sense, right? Think about the census. They're not collecting that data for you, they're collecting it to keep track of the population. As a result, the data might not be exactly what you're looking for. Why use secondary data? Often you won't have the time or resources to collect your own data. Bonus, somebody else is on the hook for making sure that it's sound and that it's been documented. One of the first things we usually do with secondary data is to summarize it. We do this with descriptive statistics and simple graphical representations. We have a number of tried and true techniques for creating these statistics. Many of these will sound familiar to you. For instance, the mean or average, median, mode, percentiles, dispersion, and so forth. That's what we're doing this week. To make sure we're clear, we do descriptive statistics because it's an easy way to talk about the main features of a data collection or individual variables. As a preview, I'll also point out that it's an important starting point for inferential statistics. Let's look at an example. The data are a little bit old, but it suits our purpose as well. Here I have data on the number of violent crimes reported per 1,000 population by ward in Washington, D.C. in 2009. If you glance at the figures, you might get a feel for what's going on. But I have a few easy ways to give you a quick and dirty view. The average here is 13.1. This is actually a citywide average rather than an average of the wards. The median or midpoint is 14.3. Now you have a couple of figures to compare individual wards to. Some are above average, some are below average. Some are above median, and some are below median. Interesting, right? The range is 18.3. Now let's stop and think about what that means. The difference between the lowest rate and the highest rate is 18.3 percentage points. That's a pretty big span, especially when you consider that the minimum is 1.8 and the maximum is 20.1. There's a lot of variation in violent crimes reported per 1,000 by ward across Washington, D.C. That's a lot of disparity. So that was a simple example, and we will talk about more of them in this unit.